I set out from Detroit this time. The target was Rwanda, or the land of 1,000 hills. From the capital, I took a shared van to the town of Gisenyi, located on Lake Kivu, on the border of the Democratic Republic of Congo. But mention Rwanda and most people recall the genocide of 1994, in which 1 million Tutsis and moderate Hutus were butchered in a 100-day span, while the UN sucked its thumb and looked the other way. Rwanda has come a long way since those dark days. I met up with Christina the next day, and we went moto-taxi exploring along the shore of Lake Kivu. Rwanda is a very sophisticated place. For example, the lights work. The people are exceedingly friendly and polite. They work hard, take long lunch breaks, and dinners also run long. There are no fast meals in this country. Poly-poly, slowly is the norm. Women do most of the work in the countryside, while men tend to sit around and drink and chat socially. My kind of place.
Oh, there's a brewery. It must be the place.
Christianity is the dominant religion, and churches of all faiths abound, and gospel singing is prevalent. One of the highlights near Gisenyi are the natural hot springs located on the lake near the brewery. We decide to take a look.
It's a dump.
What do you mean a dump? What did you see?
On the lake.
All right.
Muddy place.
Okay, a muddy spot with a few steaming bubbles. Let's move on. Except for escaping volcanic gases, the lake is considered safe for swimming. The local fishermen catch tiny fish the size of minnows. We opted to find a lakeside place to relax, eat, and watch life on the shores. Gorillas in the Virunga National Park. That was my objective.
Your name? Je m'appelle.
I started from Goma, a dusty volcanic town on the shores of Lake Kivu in the DRC. I was driven to the park boundary by armed rangers due to rebel kidnappings and local extortion attempts. A local with a shovel demanded a road tax to drive past his hut. At an elementary school, we parked and set off across cultivated fields on foot. These mountains are where Diane Fossey was based during her famous primate research. And now there are 7 gorilla families that are habituated to human visitors.
This morning I have sent one team of trackers who will use maybe half hour from here to the place where the gorilla are.
Before entering the park, the gorilla rules were explained to me. Wear a mask because they can catch human diseases, and keep your distance. Don't touch, eat, smoke, or use flash photography. And most of all, no direct eye contact with the big males. The gorillas are exposed to visitors for an hour a day, and in that hour I watched them as much as they watched me. The males were particularly attentive. They continuously ate while moving slowly as a loose group. Seems like life for mountain gorillas is eat a lot, grunt a bit, and move along. These mountains are the silverback gorilla's last habitat. Only approximately 800 remain in the world, and they can be found only here or in zoos. Unfortunately, the habitat is under attack from poachers, armed insurgents, and the British oil company Soco International, who want to undergo oil exploration in the park. It was important for me to see these guys in the wild before they disappear forever. After an hour of watching them eat, grunt, and move slowly as a group, it was time for me to head back. It was an hour of a lifetime. Nyiragongo means mother that angers easily. In this adventure, I set out from Goma in the DRC. Base camp was the ranger station in the Virunga National Park, the first national park in Africa.
Du parc national de Virunga, secteur sud. Et nous sommes au niveau de 1994 mètres d'altitude. Ok, c'est un bon travail.
After instructions, we set off with our heavily armed rangers. The group consisted of 11 guests and a lot of gear and porters. I was the only fool carrying my own gear. Due to poachers and rebel kidnappings, we were never out of sight of the rangers. Once above the clouds, I spotted our camp, which was conveniently located on the volcano's rim at 3,470 meters. The last stretch to reach the rim was the steepest and most dangerous. The lava lake at the center is the largest in the world.
And a can of beans. Bean taka! What do I get myself into?
The depth of the lava lake ranged from 3,250 meters, that was prior to the January 77 eruption, to about 600 meters. The volcano has erupted 34 times since 1882. In the last major eruption, in 1977, lava raced downhill at up to 60 miles per hour. That's up to 100 kilometers an hour, overwhelming the nearby town of Goma and killing 77 people. The last major eruption was in 2002, when lava flowed in a stream from 200 to 1,000 meters wide and up to 2 meters deep through the town of Goma. About 147 people died in that eruption, and at least 15% of Goma, comprising 4,500 buildings, was destroyed, leaving about 120,000 people homeless.
I'd give you a tour of the place, but it's completely fogged in. This is my sturdy home from last night. Incredibly uncomfortable, remarkably cold, and all night long the wind howled.
One false step can result in death up here.
Slowly.
Time to leave. Objective: Stone Town Market. We set out from Rwanda. Zanzibar is an island and technically part of Tanzania. Zanzibar became a powerful city-state in the 12th century by supplying slaves, gold, ivory, and wood from mainland Africa to India and Asia, while importing spices, glassware, and textiles. With the trade from the east came Islam.
Make free international phone calls.
In the 16th century, it was conquered by the Portuguese, then challenged by the British, and then by the Omani Arabs. By the 19th century, the Oman had full control and trade flourished again. The locals love to swim. And for an overpriced meal, we visited the Forandani garden stalls.
25, Darajani Market.
It's that way then.
Yeah.
The market sells it all, everything from the sea, plus fruits, vegetables, textiles, and knickknacks, but the pride of place goes to spices. Spices are what the tourists shop for, hence quantity, quality, and competition are abundant. And Christina closes the deal. Weju is all about the beach, so we headed to the east coast. Travel option number 1. Option number 2. Option number 3, but we opted to pay for gas and a taxi. At our beach guest house, we chilled to the sound of the rainy season serenade. But it doesn't rain all the time in the rain season. So with a reprieve from the rain gods, we rented rusted bikes and set off for a beach ride. On this side of the island, the tides run far out, perfect for the locals to bury coconuts, which they use for rope fiber. The long tides also make for easy spearfishing in the resulting pools. Uh-oh, looks like rain again. Christina decided to visit a local shopping mall until it blew over.
And what can you tell me about this quality bicycle?
Oh, it sucks. I'm wishing that we get to the end and we can give it away and we can go on foot. They should pay us for using this bike.
Christina really didn't like the junk bikes I rented. Rain again. Let's head for home. The next morning we got a perfect sunshine day, and naturally, with the tide in, the beach needed to be tested. I'd say that's a pass. What's the next best thing after swimming? Shopping, naturally. So we visited a local women's co-op that makes clothing.
It is cooking out there.
Unfortunately, the locals don't share in the wealth from tourism. Westerners are buying up the beach properties, erecting fences, and squeezing out the locals, who remain poor. Their villages are unpaved, lack running water and sewers in most cases, and even electricity is a luxury. And forget about waste disposal. Take your trash to the beach and burn it, or let the tide take it elsewhere. an island of haves and have-nots. Next stop, Nwungwi to the north. Another taxi ride and many checkpoints later, we reached beautiful Nwungwi. The first target was a local turtle rescue facility. A homegrown facility that uses a natural lagoon as a holding pen. I paid my $5 and got to swim with the turtles as long as I wanted. Turtles get caught in fishermen's nets by accident. The rescue center purchases the turtles from the fishermen. They feed them seaweed collected along the eastern beaches at low tide. After a few weeks of feeding and observation by tourists, the turtles are released at less inhabited areas along the coast. It's a small-scale project, but every turtle saved is one more available in the ever-shrinking turtle population. The north side of the island is unusual because it has two types of beaches. The east side has the long tides. The long tides allow for easy seaweed collection, used as an ingredient in local soap, and where coconuts are buried for hemp making purposes. The north is also where the traditional dhow boats are made and repaired. These boats once plied the eastern seaboard of Africa and all of the Indian Ocean for trade. The tides are less pronounced on the western side of the island. After 10 days of island life, it was time to bid farewell to paradise and move on to my next destination. In this episode, I fly from Zanzibar to Dar es Salaam and then to Arusha. I used Arusha as my base to get sorted, pay the trekking fees, $1,700, and get some pre-trek rest.
Perfect.
After registering at the main gate, we drove to the Virunga route trailhead on the north side of the mountain.
There's no huts until we get all the way up to the schoolhouse hut. But because it was raining and the ranger was a nice guy, he allowed us to stay indoors in what is the facilities for rangers only. So we did rather well, and it beats staying in a tent.
Lunch was served at the second cave campsite.
We've already finished the lunch.
Yeah.
Now we're going to the Kikelelwa camp.
I was doing the trek in the rainy season, so it rained a few times a day.
Today's campsite.
And as a result, I was the only customer.
I'm in an outhouse to stay out of the rain. That's why they call it an outhouse. Cooking, cooking, cooking.
A sunny but cold morning.
All right, so how many people are in the park on all routes in low season?
In low season, it's less than 10 people.
Less than 10.
For all routes.
Wow.
High season in this route is take like 200.
600 in the whole park?
Yes.
And 200 on this route?
Yes, only this route.
Leave your best doing. This is night 3 at 4,300 meters.
Another sunny, cold morning. A perfect morning for my Maasai guide and porters to dance.
Here we are in the mountain desert.
The weather always seemed to get worse as the day lengthened. Visual flight and mountains never mix well. Rain became snowy as we gained altitude. Another wet campsite. At least this was the last, the summit base camp.
Oh, wow. A Pepsi! Yeah. My favorite drink. Yeah. All right, thank you. It's 12:30. Feels like 4:30. So hopefully by the end of the day this rain will stop because everything is soaked. Breakfast at midnight. 7 hours of night trekking ahead of me.
We're starting at the midnight. Everybody's feeling good.
Everybody, there's only me and you.
Yes, and you. So everybody wish to get the summit.
All right, let's do it.
Yes, let's do it.
The ascent involved a narrow, steep path that wound endlessly up to the ridgeline.
We'll see if the super duper juice works.
Okay.
Wow, that is so cold.
Yeah.
Woo.
The ascent was steep, narrow, exhausting, soul-sapping, and relentless. 7 hours later, we reached the ridgeline as the sun rose. Just one more hour to the summit. Once in the glacier zone, it got very, very cold, even though we were above the clouds and in direct sunlight.
We made it to the summit. Congratulations.
Woo woo!
Good job.
58.95.
Yes.
A few shared van rides put me in Uganda. A border foot crossing and more shared rides got me to the dirt town of Kabale. My base for goods and a moto-taxi to Lake Boyonyonyi. But first, a homemade breakfast without a home. A Rolex is a tasty breakfast costing 2,000 shillings, or 70 cents. Lake Boyonyonyi, or Place of Many Little Birds, is one of the loveliest places in Uganda. The contoured shores enclose 29 islands. The villages are disconnected from civilization. No electricity, internet, or even cell phone coverage. Life is simple. Transport is by paddle.
Labor for cookies.
I hitched a ride with some kids out collecting crayfish from their traps.
Crayfish?
Yeah, crayfish.
Crayfish traps. Yeah. Very good.
The steep hillsides are terraced and reminded me of Nepal. They deposited me at a lovely island guest house called Virunga Amagara. 100% of the proceeds go to community projects, and it's a backpacker's paradise. There I met up with Jonathan and Natalia for a paddle out to Punishment Island, once used by the locals as a dumping site for pregnant, unmarried girls. Since the girls couldn't swim, they were left on the island to starve as punishment for their sins. A girl's only hope of rescue was for a man too poor to pay a wedding dowry. The price for a tainted girl, non-maiden, was a small coin with a hole in the center. The coin was considered worthless, as was the value of the girl. Per the young men I met, the value system remains unchanged.
You're supposed to get out of the boat and live with the tree.
The island is a grim place to be left to die, but Natalia was unperturbed. She knows how to swim. Batwa Pygmies were my objective. I set out with Nathaniel, a local guide with high community awareness and morals. His younger brother was our assistant. Paddling was not optional. We all paddled.
It looks like a very cloudy day. Uh-oh.
The lake was big and the route was long.
Well, there's a lot of waves and a lot of wind ahead of us.
Many hours later, we arrived at one of the many local villages. They seemed very occupied with beer making. Sogam beer is gluten-free and putrid tasting. We set out on foot from the village.
You're cute.
The Pygmies have no rights in Uganda. This band was granted unfarmable land on the top of a hill in return for fighting in tribal battles many years ago. These Pygmies survive today as laborers or by entertaining tourists.
Thank you.